Sometimes over bacon and eggs, we'll share a laugh and a story and even a wish on the breakfast dish. Bop, 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 bop.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the second episode of the breakfast dish. I'm going to get that enunciation. The breakfast dish. The breakfast dish was, of course, created off of the breakfast series by Karen Johnson Diamond, and it has been barely facilitated by me, Griffin Cork. I put mics in front of people and press the buttons. The breakfast dish has been made possible by the Calgary Arts Development Authority, the Calgary Foundation, and the Rozsa Foundation. And I am joined by, of course, Karen. Hello, Karen.
Hello, son. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm sitting in your walk-in closet, as always. It's a hot day. It's a little sweaty.
Yep.
And as well, we are joined by Haysam Kadri.
Yay!
Good morning.
Haysam, how are you?
I'm great, thanks.
We don't have to tell anybody about the 40 minutes it took to set up all of the tech.
Yeah, that's all good. That is all good. Let's not... What happens on the radio doesn't necessarily stay on the radio.
Griffin,
right.
You say it's barely facilitated, and yet nothing could happen if you weren't here. How many times are you coming in my closet to check my sound? You're heavily facilitating.
Yeah, I appreciate the hand holding that you did for me.
Well, it's also, I mean, I had to send you like a 6-page instruction document. There's a certain guilt that comes to that of like, thanks for doing this fun thing with us. Anyway, here's your whole afternoon taken up.
Well, I hope we sound great. That's all that matters.
For right now, it sounds great to me. Who knows?
I could listen to you talk in a tin can, Haysam, so
Ditto.
I don't care
Ditto.
about sound. I just want to hear your life. So, first off, what did you have for breakfast?
What did I have for breakfast? Well, I had my kids' leftovers mostly. So that's usually the order of business in my house, is that I feed my kids first, and whatever they don't eat, I usually polish off. So I made them egg bagels this morning.
Oh.
And and hash browns. So
I was wondering if you meant like food you meant for your kids' leftovers, or if like leftovers from supper that you stole.
No, whatever. No, usually it's the whatever we're making that particular moment. I usually wait.
Yeah.
Whenever I ate your leftovers, Griffin, it was soggy cereal at the bottom of a bowl with too much milk.
Leftovers wasn't a problem for me, but I remember like 9 years old, you and Dad eating my Halloween candy, and I hated that. That is a vitriol that stayed in my soul.
Is that why you moved out?
That's it. That's the reason.
Okay, question number 2. Haysam, is breakfast an okay food for supper?
Hands down, yes.
Wow.
Okay,
very
we're
good.
winning.
Yes.
We are winning. There might be someone in our life who doesn't believe it's a supper food. So.
24-hour breakfast places are like holy places.
Holy ground. This is our first local Calgary interview, so we were able to get you that sweet Yeti Nano mic.
I'm totally honored, and I'm actually I was born and raised in Calgary, so
Woo, me too.
there you go. I have that feather in my cap as well.
Good stuff.
Okay, so last breakfast question. If Romeo and Juliet were having breakfast together, what at an all-night 24-hour breakfast place, what would they order?
A seamless transition.
Yeah, so good. What would they order?
Oh, probably something like they would probably order whatever's on the menu that's called the dog's breakfast, probably, because they're completely impulsive and crazy and yeah. So probably whatever it was, the dog's breakfast.
Me and Karen always have a little mini meeting right before we record. We're just like, so what are we going to ask our guest? And one of the options that Karen brought to the table was what would Romeo and Juliet be called if they were breakfast foods?
If they were breakfast foods.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, that's a great question.
Well, I didn't bring it up because it is a crazy, crazy question. I mostly brought it up because I want to hear Karen say her example answers again.
Oh, I said rolled oats and omelette. I'm a professional improviser, people.
Romeo lot. No. Yeah.
And omelette.
Oh, I was just going to say runny eggs and something else.
No, that's good.
Runny eggs is good.
And
yeah,
juice.
Juniper and juice.
Yeah.
Runny
All
eggs
right.
and juice. All right, let's get down to it now. Speaking of runny eggs and juice.
Yeah, speaking of runny eggs and juice, Haysam, you are the program director and also this year's director of Shakespeare,
Yes.
which actually got its name by performing by the Bow River, Shakespeare in the Park by the Bow River. However, this year is a little bit of a twist.
Yeah, it seems that Romeo and Juliet is cursed for the Shakespeare by the Bow franchise because in 2013,
Oh man,
in 2013 we were supposed to do Romeo and Juliet, and our good old floody city. So we were flooded in 2013, so we had to move venues from Princess Island Park to Mount Royal, and then
that's right.
and then Stafford programmed Romeo and Juliet this year, or actually last year, but obviously this year was when we are doing it, and COVID-19 and all the fun stuff.
Right, and so you had auditions and you were like prepping for the show before all COVID. So this is like a true like full like adaptation to digital online.
Yeah, we were in the original concepts of design for the park, and I had this grand design to do Romeo and Juliet. I won't give it away, but
No.
it was really an exciting and elaborate and pretty epic design, and then that got shelved because of COVID.
What are the chances that it might come back next summer, like a Romeo and Juliet 2.0, and we might actually get to see that design?
Yeah, well, great question. I'm not sure. Let's hope we can.
You really needled him
Well,
with that one.
the thing is that government restrictions were lifted for a certain amount of people outdoor, but the problem is that our venue is an uncontrolled environment, so we can't really control how many people come in and out unless we put a box office at a gate. And that's a whole other, to do. So having 100 people down at the park wasn't really the issue. It's the fact that we were really in an uncontrolled environment.
And when we logged in on Saturday, when we watched it on Saturday, there was 395 people there. So you wouldn't have been able to have that at the park.
Yeah, that's right. And then when the restrictions were lifted, I mean, we still made the executive decision to go online. So it takes longer than 3 weeks to organize a show and get all your ducks in a row. So there's that as well.
It's so clever.
I was going to say, speaking of like kind of grandiose design and design elements, I don't think that the current production is missing anything grandiose. Like you guys have done some very, very cool things. For those of you who are listening who don't know, obviously Karen and I have seen it. It's running right now. When does it run until, Haysam?
It runs till the 18th, and there's if we get some real buzz and excitement, we might extend. But it runs into the 18th for now, and
that's exciting.
Yeah. So
Wednesday and Saturday night, right?
Wednesday and Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Every night there's a new cameo appearance by a celebrity, so look out for that.
And a special guest who I think appears every night, right? Every time you see it.
And a special guest who appears every night,
right.
Mayor Nenshi. So he does his cameo spot.
So good.
We're in a cool spot because me and Karen are kind of sitting here being like, "What are we allowed to say? What can we? I don't want to give anything away." Very cool.
Haysam says it's okay, but not
right.
we can't give it away.
Haysam says we're in the clear.
Yeah, it's totally okay. No, for sure. So yeah, so it's epic in its kind of conception. So Jenna Turk and I, we did the adaptation. What I wanted to do is I wanted to take a static platform and put a dynamic show. As you all know, you've been on Zoom calls before, and it's quite, after about half an hour of watching a Zoom reading, your attention wanes, and it's really easy to disengage. Mm-hmm. And so what we wanted to do is really keep the audience engaged. So number one thing is we cut the play down to about 55 minutes.
Man.
And all the scenes, and that's a big task. I already am great at cutting plays down to 2 hours, but this was a whole other this was a big beast to cut it down to 1 hour and keep the play plot centric and the through line in the arc intact.
So for those of you who haven't seen it yet, I'm going to give this away. He cut out Romeo and Juliet. They're no longer in the play.
They're actually gone. Yeah,
it's not about them.
And he added in character named Frederick and Vince, which was weird.
Yep, Fred and Vince. Anyway, sorry, Haysam, I interrupted.
Now you guys tell me I could have used Frederick and Vince.
Yeah, right.
So Romeo and Juliet are intact. They still are. They're an important piece of the play, and so that was the first thing was cutting it down to 55 minutes. So instead of the 2 hour traffic of our stage, it's our 1 hour traffic of our stage, as said in the chorus. And then it was okay. So what is the story we want to tell? So as I was reading this play again and again and again, the plague has a very important piece of the narrative in Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah. So
Friar John, who is supposed to hand off the letter to Romeo to let him know that Juliet's poison is a mask, and so she's not actually dead, doesn't happen because Friar John is quarantined for 2 weeks.
That's right.
And so that gave me the impetus to go, okay, so what happens if we embrace our COVID-19 idea? And then Jenna totally jumped on board, and she said, yes, let's keep it in COVID world. And so that was our jumping off point. Then I said to myself, okay, so what are teenagers, because this play is loaded with teens and hormones and all that stuff.
Teens and hormones. Romeo and Juliet.
What are teens doing in a pandemic? Okay, well, they're on TikTok and they're on social media and they're playing video games and all those things. Yep. So I said, okay, so how do we incorporate that? And then the biggest obstacle in Shakespeare when you modernize it is this trope that that communication breaks down because somebody didn't get a letter or somebody didn't get a message. And so we had to figure out that thing, because you know how easy it is to send messages today. I could send a
instantaneously
to my friends in New Zealand in 2 seconds and they'll get it.
Yeah.
So we had to figure out that that obstacle.
Oh, but don't give that part away, because that is one of the Friar John I couldn't get it there bit is golden.
Oh yes. So we jumped off from that point. And I phoned my good friend Rebecca Northan, who is a genius, and I just ran by some things because I said, okay, I have some ideas for this fight. And we have a mutual friend, Kurt Furla, who's an animator with Robot Chicken in LA, and he does all of the Shakespeare company, my company's graphics. And I said to Rebecca, so I want to do the fights as animations. Right? And she said, well, that won't work unless they're playing video games. And I said, thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you later.
I knew I needed to hear that. And I was like, thank you. Then every time I go into Theatre Calgary, I see these VR headsets that they've been used once and they've just been sitting there.
Yeah, wait a minute. Where are the VR headsets in Calgary?
Yeah, I've never seen them there.
Right beside the artistic director's office and right to the left of Jenna's desk.
From what? From what? Do you know from what production?
I think it was a project they were working on. I'm not sure.
Right. Okay.
And I went in there and I asked, "What are those VR headsets for?
Yeah, what is this for?"
And then I said, "Okay, so VR headsets, so their likeness can be projected through animation, and that's how we will represent the violence in the play." So I called Kurt Furla and I said, "Hey, Kurt. Will you do me a solid and do these animations? Because it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of money."
Yeah, animation is a very expensive, time-consuming thing.
Yeah, because what he's doing is taking their likeness, these actors that he's never seen and met before, and he's transposing that to a video animation image. So it takes time.
It was really impressive in terms of how accurate the likeness was.
It was really good.
Yeah. So the actors had to do their front, their profile shots, their three-quarter shots, their front shots, their back shots.
Oh, man.
And what he did is he created these three-dimensional characters out of pictures that I sent to him on my iPhone. And so, that's Kurt Furla. He's brilliant.
That's kind of world-shattering to me, because I watched Robot Chicken as like a 13-year-old. Like, Robot Chicken was a staple of Teletoon at night.
Yeah, he's a pretty brilliant guy, and he's a Calgary born Calgarian as well.
No way.
Yeah, so he's a great guy.
Robot Chicken is kind of a adult kind of racy cartoon show, so it kind of pushes the envelope, you know.
Is it like The Simpsons?
Okay, moving on.
So then we landed, and then Jenna and I worked through this play, and we had such a fun time of creating the conceit and executing kind of the storytelling and pushing the envelope in terms of how we tell the story. We didn't know whether that, our conceit was going to be executed. We didn't know how it was going to be executed. We just said we're going to write this, and then hopefully Theatre Calgary comes through. And Graham Kingsley, who does all things production on this show, was the genius that basically took the vision and then put it into practice.
Oh, he's brilliant.
Yeah, it is brilliant, and we had a lot of fun doing it. It's not fun to be on Zoom for 5 hours a day.
No.
But the group of actors that we have, the ensemble that we put together, were so keen and so invested. They just jumped in, and honestly, I really allowed them to take ownership, and because they're in their own homes, they know what they have at their disposal, they know what they can do, and we just had a blast. Sometimes it was painful on the brain because trying to troubleshoot and figure out how to tell that particular part of the story, and we took a lot of breaks. But we had such a great time.
I was just going to say, I don't know what that's like to have to troubleshoot technical problems. That's foreign to me.
Yes.
Yeah, she's kind of our IT, Karen is. She's kind of
sound
our tech wizard.
and mic.
Sound and mic.
Yeah, me too. Same boat.
Hey, so this is kind of stuff we talked about previously, but I wonder if people understand, because keeping the number that you guys had the night that we saw it, like around 350, engaged for 55 minutes of them watching a live digital theatrical performance is frankly quite impressive.
Yeah.
And I think an excellent way that you guys did that was all the different platforms and ways you told stories. Like, yeah, you had Juliet doing the TikTok dance, which was very good. You had a lot of FaceTime conversations, which I thought was genius.
Oh, those were so smart.
Oh yeah, and then also the when they had the same background and they were facing each other, so it practically looked like they were in the same room. Like I remember there was one kind of like paisley background that there was so much work done in the cameras connecting that the two paisley patterns connected at the screen split. Oh my God.
And is that something, did you deliver that paisley backdrop to the two different homes so that they could work on it?
Yeah, here's the interesting thing is that we did deliver the same background settings. So and three of our actors are in Edmonton. So and a couple of them I haven't met before actually. So we've only met virtually.
Oh, cool.
So that adds another element to the process. But we sent these background pieces for them to put up in their respective homes. But the problem is that, and it's not necessarily a problem, but the obstacle is that everybody has different lighting. And so our mustard colored sheet looks completely different in somebody's house versus the house in a Calgary house versus the Edmonton house because the lighting is different.
Like gold in one house and beige in the other.
Yeah, and even though they're the same, it's the same fabric. And so figuring that out is also... it's not perfect, but it's pretty close. These are things that you never think about as a director, but when you're doing a show, you're going, "Oh my gosh, the color." Okay, can you check your lighting? How much natural light are you using, and how much electricity are you using?
Can we get that diffused? LX, fly in another light.
There's so many different complex things that we're not prepared for.
But the clever thing, or the things sometimes that was engaging, was just that, going, how do they have the same background? Oh, I see. They have the same cloth, or, so it was engaging enough just to see how on earth you did it. And even just when they would turn their faces and talk to each other, it was just so, and I'm like you, I've seen lots of readings online, and this was 55 minutes that I didn't even notice go by.
We weren't going to be afraid of the novelty of it because we wanted to appeal to as many people as possible. And that's the kind of Shakespeare by the Bow's hallmark, is that it really does put the Calgary back into Theatre Calgary because it offers theatre to everybody, every walk of life, and every person that graces the Prince's Island that particular day and stumbles upon it, they're welcome to watch or not watch. And so that's the great thing about it, and we still wanted to maintain that important tradition of Shakespeare by the Bow.
And Shakespeare Company has always been so accessible and done such great productions of Shakespeare that there's every single high school student is coming out to see it. So I'm going to speak right now to the listeners who are high school students going into, I think, grade 10, which is when I think Romeo and Juliet is in the curriculum. Maybe? Anyway, you're going into high school. You're going to study Romeo and Juliet at some point. You want to watch this as your first introduction to Romeo and Juliet because you will get the story, you will get the major plot points, and it will be done in a way that is not just words on a page.
And that's the other great thing is that Theatre Calgary brought the Shakespeare Company and Hit Myth on board to collaborate, and it's just been great to work hand in hand with Theatre Calgary.
I might have a very Calgary bias, but as soon as you see those three companies team up, you go, "Oh, this is going to be something we should probably go and check out."
Yeah,
and it's actually something. I mean, Jen has been working on the adaptations for Shakespeare for like a while now, but
yes.
I think you with the Shakespeare Company, and then Jenna's work with adapting for Shakespeare are like the perfect team to cut this down to a 55-minute. Online digital work in that adaptation when cutting things down, was there anything removed specifically or added specifically because of tech digital online consideration?
Well, as we traversed through the play and we just went scene by scene and said, okay, what can we do to tell the story the best way possible? And we realized that the story and the arc sometimes needs a thread and a bridge. And so we use the technical elements to really bridge it, because when you're distilling the play, a 2.5-hour play to 1 hour, you're going to miss plot points and you're going to fast track basically dramatic action. And so what we did was we used the technical elements that Graham Kingsley executed for us as a weave through the play. So that was the most important thing, is we could tell 15 pages here through one Instagram post or one Facebook filter. And I think that was really worked to our benefit. Totally. Because we really made it a lean and mean adaptation.
Yeah. It was actually going to be my next question in terms of, because we kind of talked about the challenges, but yeah, like the boons of this kind of method. Because I saw this was one of my favorite uses of the new media during the balcony scene when Romeo's doing his monologue, looking up at Juliet, and Juliet can't see who that is yet. Zach Coyote, who's playing Romeo, was totally backlit, so even the audience can see what it was. And I go, oh yeah, like that kind of stuff goes like booyah. And again, not trying to give anything away, but the person or the entity that replaces the Friar John element, the night that we saw it, there was the cinematic technique, the floor to ceiling reveal with the shoes up to the face. I went, oh yeah, good stuff.
Yeah,
which it may be so much more potent when you know who that character is, but you see those boots, frankly, and then you go, nice.
And they all had to become filmmakers, really, didn't they? Like they really had to use their improv skills to go, where in the living room here looks like Mantua.
They totally do, and they each one of them are on 2, sometimes 3 different devices, and so they're logged into the interface with 3 different devices, and from our control center, or what we call Theatre Calgary headquarters, literally Bronwyn's basically switching mics and on and off, and cameras on and off, and so their cameras are on, and it is a control center. I can't tell you the wizardry that is happening behind the scenes when we're doing this play. It's extraordinary.
Oh, man.
It's not just something canned and we just go. Literally, it is like a film studio. A film producer and a film director orchestrating kind of the storytelling of this play.
Well, it's live TV. It's Bronwyn going, go to camera 3.
It's go to camera 3. Yeah. It's like, switch here. Oh, I pressed that too early. It's
of course it's Bronwyn. Bronwyn the genius.
And that's was a very important part of doing this piece, was to make it live and so it has blemishes. It has a few warts here and there, and it's not a polished piece, because never, when we're on stage, it's never a polished piece. We're always trying to negotiate that polish, and sometimes we succeed, and sometimes we fail, and sometimes we mess up our lines. And that's what we wanted. We didn't want to make a perfect piece. We want it to be authentic. We want it to be live and real. And I think we've accomplished that for the most part, because anything can happen. Anything has happened.
Yeah.
People's mics have gone out. Wi-Fi has gone down.
Oh, no.
It's been crazy. We had to do a scene in a preview. We had to do the scenes inside because it was raining cats and dogs. And in the last minute, we didn't think about that. We were like, oh, we have an outdoor scene, and now we got to take it indoors. And we made an executive decision to make it to make it uniform in this particular set with this particular setting. So now that I think about it, it was quite a feat to execute. And I've lost a couple of years of my life, but.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, man, are you okay?
After this, though, everything is golden. You're just everything's easy after this. Direct 75 people in an outdoor show. Easy.
Pshaw, yeah.
Well, I also think that the blemishes and the lack of polish are kind of add that element of like of theater, but in an extreme case like improv, right? It's the weird kind of like sadistic feeling of the audience being like, ooh, what's gonna happen? Can they pull it off? Like that kind of thing. But also the improv elements of they do what you expect, so you feel smart, or they do what you don't expect, so you feel surprised.
Totally.
Hey, that's a Rebecca Northon thing.
Booyah.
100%. That's part of the charm. And the other thing is, what we didn't want to do is, doing 2.5 weeks rehearsal, can the show, and then press play every night, because then we're cheating our artists of developing and discovering and building off what they did the previous show, and trying new things, and which I'm a total proponent of. Like, I'm like, make strong and wrong choices in rehearsal, and I love it. Inevitably, we're going to find something together that's really going to work. And they're playing with new things. So every time you watch it, there's going to be a new thing. Even if if you've watched it 3 times, you're going to see new choices every single show, like we would basically in a live theater setting. So
and a new guest.
And a new guest, yes, and a new guest.
Now, and this is more of a question to your position as the program director of Shakespeare by the Bow, in terms of bringing in all these amazing emerging artists into this program, and they put on the production, but it's also like an excellent like mentorship opportunity for these like fresh out of school grads. Now, and we kind of already talked about it in terms of, do you think that they learned that this year's production of Shakespeare by the Bow learned new and different skills than maybe any other Shakespeare year ever, in terms of, cinematic technique and sound editing, like those kind of things?
Well, as you know, Griffin, you could speak to this. We didn't get to do our conditioning stints that we love to do. So I do miss that.
Yeah, me too.
Conditioning was 45 minutes of push-ups and running. Am I right about that?
Yeah.
Well, so, okay, the year that I did it, Haysam was pretty nice. Like, sometimes it was like a soccer game.
Okay,
or like we did do some laps sometimes. We did do some like in the theater strength training stuff. My year, from some of the horror stories I've heard of Haysam's conditioning in previous years,
we toned it down.
Yeah, we got off pretty scot-free. The what was the big one? The stairs. The stairs was a big scary thing for our whole cast, because we got told like, Haysam's gonna make you do the stairs, which is those like multi-leveled stairs coming down to cross over Memorial. Which my year never did. So if anyone's listening who did, I'm so sorry. It wasn't up to me. Okay.
But I think it's there's a method to the madness. Ultimately, is because you're running in any green space is your stage really at the park. So you've got to run from one end of the grass to the other. So, and then speak heightened Elizabethan text. So it was important to get people conditioned for that environment.
Right. I should say it is insanely necessary.
It is. I think so. For
sure.
I attribute. I give credit to Kevin McKendrick for that. I kind of took his lead and did that from there. But yes, there are new skill sets needed. We did pay attention to the text. But what was really difficult and challenging is that we had to do basically cue to cue the second day on day 2.
Right.
So we were doing things in reverse.
Right.
And so I actually didn't get back to the play till a week and a half later, because we were setting the storyboard for technically we needed to set the storyboard, and we needed to see everybody was capable of doing in their environments. And so basically it was a cue to cue to start.
Oh, man.
On day 2, after we did our first, day and a half of text work and just understanding what we're saying, we literally jumped into cue to cue, which is completely antithetical to what we would do in the theater.
Totally. So right. So the whole process of theater and rehearsal kind of got turned on its head.
Flipped.
And it's for those of you who don't know, you had a large stint on the AMC series Hell on Wheels. Your character's name was Dutch.
That's right, yeah.
Thank you. How was it in terms of, because practically your job turned to a film director, right? Like you're a film director now, practically. And so in terms of that, you have a good knowledge of film. What
did you learn? That's what I want to know. What did you learn?
Well, I learned that necessity is the mother of invention.
Yes. Yep.
Not that that's something you learn. We already know that. But yeah, so I had to change the optics changed and my focus had to change because I wasn't in the room with people. And so, believe it or not, the ability to communicate changes as well, because you can't read the room as well when you're 350 kilometers away from the person.
Right.
So many times I would just have to really gauge as much as I could the screen and understand when people needed a break, or when something, I needed to allow them the freedom to be able to offer as many things or not as possible, because what I didn't want to do is push them in a way that would put them in a position where they're not going to succeed. And so they were always offering, and I said, if we could try this, that would be great. If you can't do it, no worries. They would inevitably have something better than what I would offer. And so part of that is the generation that telling this story, they're really in touch with technology, and they're really in touch with using 5 devices at the same time, different devices, and setting up camera angles. And then we would try, I put my film director's hat on, and we would try different perspectives, like the feet up and those kinds of things. And some way more successful than others. But it was really, I had such a great time exploring how to tell a story in this particular way. Like I said, it's a very static platform, and we wanted to make a dynamic story on a static platform. And I think, for the most part, we achieved that.
Yeah, you did. That's what I've always said, is it's the generation now that's going to take what we're learning now and turn it into the whole new world of theater. And I don't have to do anything. I'm just going to sit back and wait to be hired.
Well, I think, Karen, I think about our generation of actors and trying to do what our Shakespeare emerging artists did.
Couldn't do it.
And I just go, oh my gosh, we would have mental breakdowns. We'd be throwing stuff.
I'd be like, I have a Kodak Insta camera.
I can't do this.
But I can't go to London Drugs and get the pictures developed right now. So
yeah. So honestly,
I could etch it on a stone tablet.
Yes. Yeah. So honestly, the fact that we have a younger generation at the helm, running the ship, really makes a big difference when they're telling the story, and they're able to troubleshoot better than I think I could have. So it's kind of a blessing, and it was kind of fit perfectly that we're using emerging artists to tell this story, this particular way of storytelling.
Yeah.
Booyah. Speaking of technical knowledge, let's get down to the brass tacks of how people can find Romeo and Juliet online, presented by the Shakespeare by the Bow Theatre, Calgary Shakespeare Company, and Hit Myth, baby.
I'll give you a hint. It's super easy.
It's really easy. So you can go on theatrecalgary.com or shakespearecompany.com, and you literally click on, the first thing you see is Romeo and Juliet. Theatre Calgary has a really quick, easy access tab. You press that tab and it takes you right to our Vimeo feed. And funny enough, TELUS Optic TV is broadcasting this on Saturday and Wednesday, so the 4th and then the following Wednesday.
Right.
Oh, great.
So it's going to be available for TELUS customers as well.
Yeah, so anybody in Alberta or British Columbia who is listening to this, if you have Telesoptic TV, it is now available to you on that service.
Yeah, so that's another great thing is that we're really hoping to broadcast to a really wide range of people across the provinces. And this is the wonderful thing. Internationally, people can watch, across the border in America and overseas. They can tune in too. And we've had some international viewers. Check it out. We check the analytics, and we got people from Norway, we got people from Pakistan, we got people from the UK.
That's right. The Theatre Calgary team posted all the different time zones in which it was showing.
Oh yeah, yes.
That's right.
We've got Dubai. Wow. Yeah, we had made a lot of requests, and so that's exciting. That wouldn't happen down at Princess Island Park necessarily.
Yep.
So we're embracing this whole thing, and it's really exciting to see how accessible a story can be told through this particular medium.
Well, there is a number of people in our theater community who are, believe it or not, older than me and really want to be able to take this stuff in, but don't feel technically savvy. And so sometimes they're reaching out to me going, I feel like I'm missing everything. And this one, to just be able to email them and go, I just watched it. Go to the website. You know how to do that. Click the big red button that says watch, because we signed on a little early, and then there's a little standby. We're going to start pretty soon. It's the easiest thing. It's easy. Have I mentioned it's easy? Super easy.
And even on our end, there was the graphic that said turn up the couple of bars on the Vimeo page, which we forgot to do. And we wouldn't have. So, in fact, when you get there, all the instructions are very clear on how to best experience it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've done a great job of making it really accessible, making it clear, making it easy.
Yay, Graham.
Yeah, yay, Graham. Amazing. And we've got great feedback from a wide range of people. There's some people in the UK that have seen it, and our audience is starting to give us feedback, and it's really exciting to see.
Haysam, we really appreciate you coming back on. We are coming back on as if this is the second episode ever. Coming on to the second episode.
Well, us figuring out tech was like a whole episode with him. Now he's coming back on.
Yeah, but that means I get to spend more time with you guys, so that's great. I'll take it.
Is there anything, we're getting close to our wrap-up time, is there anything that you would like to plug in terms of Shakespeare socials, your personal socials, Shakespeare Company socials? I know there is a phrase, true love, that you can text to a number, which is what Karen and I did. It's also the easiest system in terms of how to donate to Shakespeare.
20222, donate. And then you get to choose how much money you want to donate. Easiest thing ever.
Yeah, it's the show technically is a free show, but we encourage people to donate because it does cost money to put on a show like this. But ultimately, this show is really a gift to our city and now to other people who can access it. But it's really simple. It's text True Love, TRUELOVE, to 20222. That's 20222.
Nice.
And we've had great responses. And yes, it is really simple. And you've got $5, $10, or $25 options. It's it's been really successful so far.
And it's worth $25 with the animation that you have, and also when you watch it, you can see the work that all the artists are doing in terms of quickly run into that new background in their living room so they can set up their camera. It's
still got that park spirit. Run over there.
Hurry.
Yeah, and I also think that watching the future of our Canadian theatre artists is worth $25 as well, because
always
they're just fantastic. And this program is really the crown jewel for Theatre Calgary. It's such an important initiative, and I'm so glad that they kept this tradition and this initiative alive, because they could have parked it for this year and just said, oh, you know what, let's count our losses and call it a day. But it was so important for them to forge on and make sure that they really offer this program to the upcoming emerging artists. So I'm really proud to be a part of that. And so I'm just excited that we did it. It was, at first we were going, well, how is this going to look, and what's this going to be, and how are people going to receive it? And now we're really, really happy that we did it. And I credit Theatre Calgary for, staying true to their initiative, which is to develop emerging artists and to pick up that slack that might be lacking in post-secondary because of schools are shutting down. So it's really an important thing, and we're excited to be doing it.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I think it's. I'm very happy it's still going. Give me some socials, Haysam. I believe it's at Shakespeare on Twitter and Instagram.
At Shakespeare, or you could check out at Theatre Calgary, at Shakespeare YYC, and then obviously at Hit and Myth. And you can check out all the information about showtimes and how to access the show. And you can always check out theatrecalgary.com and shakespearecompany.com for any information. And there's lots of stuff because there's 3 companies involved. People are inundated with information and ways in which you can support. And it's much appreciated that people are supporting this great initiative.
Yeah, and we will be posting all the links to pretty much everything that's been mentioned in the description, whatever platform you're listening on. Haysam, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Griffin, KJD.
It
was so great to be able to talk to you. I feel a bit normal today, so.
Good.
Hey,
yeah,
that's true, right? Even though we're just boxes on a screen, it's happy boxes.
No, but it's really nice to see you as well as hear your voices as well.
So true.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. I realize that at the end of these things, I should probably start saying something like rate us 5 stars, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, all the podcast things that you're supposed to say. I'm not quite sure that's real yet, but I'm sure we'll figure it out.
Hey, Griffin, who wrote that jingle? Who wrote that great jingle?
That jingle was written by Alexandra Cowman, and you're about to hear her outro, so stick around for that.
And how about that art, that podcast art?
That's right. Any of the graphics that have been you've seen of us have been by Morgan Erbter. Of course, thank you to CADA, the Rozsa Foundation, and the Calgary Foundation for all the support. You can find us online, our YouTube channel, The Breakfast Dish, or Facebook, The Breakfast Dish, or Twitter at Breakfast Dish. And the next episode will be coming out July 13th. I think that's it. Karen, anything else?
I think that's it. I want to talk to Haysam more about one thing, but we can stop recording.
Okay. Well, yes. So this will be some BTS content that we'll release in 30 years of this extra Haysam Kadri question. Haysam, thank you so much for talking to us about Frederick and Vince or whoever.
Thank you guys so much. The only thing we were missing was actually eating breakfast while we were doing this.
Right, although with these very sensitive mics, the egg chewing.
My co-host producer's son won't let me get my cereal anywhere near the pop shield.
I don't want your rolled oats or your omelette anywhere near my Yeti microphone.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks, you guys.
This has been The Breakfast Dish.